Will tomorrow's interest rate cut save us from the crash? Let's have a look. Good morning everyone, Florian Heiser here and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. I've got my Stein in hand and I thought we'd talk about tomorrow's potential interest rate cut from the RBA and discuss if that's going to save us from the housing crash. So let's have a look at this article from the ABC. So, with rate cut and real risk of recession ahead, can Australia's economy run of luck continue? Can it? Can it? Well, let's have a look at a few things. Our unemployment rate is trending up, as you can see here at the bottom of this picture. Our inflation rate for the last quarter was measured has hit zero, which is a sign of economic activity is decreasing. Our GDP growth rate is trending down. If we have 3 quarters of negative growth, then we're going to have a recession. And we also have the bank's restrictions on lending. And it can be seen here with Melbourne, with people purchasing land and then having to sell their land and it having to be relisted on the market because they couldn't get the finance that they originally expected to build their projects. Now, you could argue that this is just purely out of the Royal Commission. I suspect worse, and with banks, I'll take the more cynical approach and argue that it's them reducing their risk. So let's look at this article here. With rate cuts and the real risk of a recession ahead, can Australia's economic run of luck continue? Can Australia's economic run of luck continue? Let me know what you think in the comments, guys, before we go into this article. Do you think our economic run of luck can continue? Because I don't. John Howard famously declared during his 2004 re-election campaign that interest rates would always be lower under a coalition government. That's been a truism for several years now, with the official cash rate at a record low of 1.5%. But if the betting is correct about our interest rate trajectory, it may well be that interest rates under the Morrison government will forever hold the record for the lowest of all time, unless we go negative. That would be a neat historical bookend, given the highest was 21.4%, which occurred in April 2008 during the Fraser government when Mr. Howard was Treasurer. Now, my father told me about that because I was born in 81, so I'm still young, but just how, all of a sudden people were unable to purchase their houses or pay off their mortgages and meet their repayment requirements. It was terrible times in the 80s. No one equates low interest rate with superior economic management any longer. In fact, it's debatable just how much influence governments have over rates. Given its habit of shifting in 0.25 percentage point increments, when the Reserve Bank lowers rates tomorrow afternoon, it will be firing off one of the last 6 shots remaining in its chamber. And this just begs the question, is it going to make any difference? I mean, if your interest rates got cut by a 0.25% on your mortgage, will it make that much difference to your day-to-day spending? So those of you who are watching here, let's take a quick poll. Will it make any difference? I think I'll just be paying off my mortgage faster, to be honest. I won't be spending any more in the economy. I'll be being a cheap bastard and maybe throw some more off it while I can, but I don't know. It's not going to fill me full of encouragement. Will it make that much difference to people who are trying to get mortgages, though? That's the real question. Will it stimulate the housing market? And it's not that big a difference. Market economists are falling over themselves guessing how many are to come. The consensus is 2 cuts, one tomorrow, the next in August, but the outliers are predicting as many as 4 in the next 12 months. That's insane. I mean, what's it going to do? That points to an exceptionally weak economy, susceptible to a growing list of potential international shocks. A message starkly at odds with that presented at the budget and the election. Well, yeah, the election, no one really talked about it, did they? No one really talked about it. Labor just went down this identity politics, socialist, banning coal, greenie path that the electorate obviously responded to. And I honestly think they lost the unlosable election. If they had been a bit more sensible, they would have gotten a shot at it. But, Shorten wasn't the man. Nonetheless, let's get back to this. Just 2 months ago, we were promised a decade of federal budget surpluses based upon a strong and recovering economy. I don't know what they're basing that on. What are they basing that on? Australia is not a strong and recovering economy. So, to highlight this point regarding the complexity of the Australian economy, let me just bring up my favourite website with regards to this. Now, this is from the Observatory of Economic Complexity, and you can see where Australia rates there on the top right, where our economic complexity index is 0.09. We're 59th out of 126 countries in the world. You know, look at our exports compared to our imports, and I mean, you can just see there what we're importing and what we're exporting. So I'll just scroll down a little bit here. When we're exporting coal, iron, petroleum, gold. They're our biggest exports out of this country. And then what we're importing, broadcasting equipment, cars. Okay, so we're importing complex things and we're exporting less complex things. You know, we're a raw minerals production country. So we're dependent on global demand for all of these things with regards to our economy. And if they're arguing, you know, upon a strong recovering economy, fantastic. That's okay. So we're a country that's exporting a lot of stuff. Let's jump back here and let's have a look at where are we exporting stuff to? Where are we exporting stuff to? Let's have a look. We can see it here. Okay. Destinations for our exports. China, 35%. Now, if they start slowing down, which they've been at a crazy growth rate, if that starts slowing down, it's going to affect us. Japan, I mean, they've been in recession for a long time. If they start picking up, great. But South Korea, India. So look how much of our trade is going to Asia. Look how much is going to Asia. And if there's a trade war between China and the United States and China starts ticking down, the United States is only 3.5% of our exports, where China is 10 times that. What do you think is going to happen to the Australian economy? Yeah, and you can go into, I'll link to this website if you want to look into it, because you can click on each of these countries and just see what we're exporting there. Hang on, let's have a look here. What does China export to Australia? What does China import from Australia? Let's have a look here. What does China import from Australia? And I mean, this is great just to give visualizations and a bit of understanding. So what does China import from Australia in 2017? Iron ore, coal, petroleum, magnesium ore, you know? So it's good just to have an understanding of these type of things. When people are making, or politicians are making these claims, because everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. You know, we're all part of a global economy. Even when you had nations which were more mercantile and were closing their borders and putting tariffs, they still had to interact with each other, and that doesn't change. So when a housing slump collides with rising unemployment, oh boy. That's the problem with booms. They tend to unwind occasionally in spectacular fashion, especially when they've been supercharged with debt. Yes, they are. So this is housing debt to income, shooting up here. And this is wage growth, shooting down here. Yeah, it feels like wage growth has not grown in ages. And, okay, I'm not an employee, but I'd say in my industry, fee growth for architectural services has not grown since the GFC. At least I've noticed it. You know, I'm always told I'm charging excessive fees for our commercial jobs. So, you know, that's why I've scaled back the business, and we're only working on smaller jobs for clients that we want, maybe a few big ones here and there, but I won't take too many on anymore because I don't want to have all the staff headaches. It's just that cash flow. That's what's frustrating. When salary, you know, you still have to pay, but your fee growth hasn't increased. So that's where we find ourselves. Hocked to the eyeballs with no obvious way out. Wage growth has slumped and savings have depleted. More concerning, the housing boom, where most of the debt has been deployed, is but a distant memory. It has been in reverse for 4 years in Western Australia and for more than 18 months on the East Coast. So yes, that's true. Let's have a look here at this chart. This is predicted housing prices just for 2019 price changes. You can see everything there except for Hobart houses and units are going down. That's predicted. So remember, we've gone into debt as a nation for this, and it's all predicted to go down. This leaves a growing number of owners underwater, owing more than their houses is worth. Yes, I did a video on that a few days ago, and it's concerning. Or probably about a week or two ago, where people are in negative equity, and some people have some comments where they were stuck in that trap, and it's quite sad. If it's temporary, you can keep paying the mortgage. That's no problem. Yes, but extended price decline hits a growing number of homeowners, and if the economy sours and firms start laying off indebted workers, the banks and the financial system takes a hit. In the West and the Northern Territory, almost 15% of all mortgages are in negative equity. So when the unemployment rate ticked higher last month, the Reserve Bank was left with no alternative. Rates had to be cut and lending restrictions loosened. So they need to get more people investing into the Ponzi scheme to keep people employed. Yes, that's it. That's really concerning, because it just seems like an endless loop, doesn't it? It's not going to end well. The market is going to correct eventually. No matter what the government does, the market will correct. I'm confident in that. The market will correct. It'll force a correction through, and it'll just get to the point where you get a Venezuelan outcome, where it's a very drastic correction. With the ALP's defeat, two threats to property values, easing property tax concessions around negative gearing and capital gains, were removed. Add in the first home buyer government guarantee, and that's a 5-point housing market stimulus plan. Yes, but are people confident? Consumer confidence has dropped. Are they confident that now's the time to go in? Particularly with Opal Tower, which happened, the other day, with all the issues regarding the architect's reports and everything that's happening in Opal Tower. Is that going to keep going with people? Are they going to keep investing in these properties when everything you see, we have here the reports coming out, consumer confidence lost in Opal Tower for the Sherwood Gold report. So consumer confidence is down with regards to that housing market. What are you going to stimulate? The immediate changing housing market sentiment, that immediately changed housing market sentiment. Did it? Perhaps, maybe for real estate agents and people who are in the media wanting to encourage housing market sentiment to go up, but really has it? But the spookers predicting another property boom may still have some time to wait. It's more likely the market bottom will be reached sooner and not be quite so severe, but prices still have some way to fall. Yes, yeah, I think he's right there. I don't think a first home buyer's grant is going to lead to a boom. There's too much reduced confidence in the market at the moment. So let's see, why is the economy slowing? No one is mentioning the R word quite yet. Well, no, not quite. I mean, we're trending down, guys. We're trending down. Okay, we're heading down. We need to go below this line for a few quarters. But the run of bleak news on our economy has been unrelenting of late on almost every key measure. In fact, it's extraordinary. No one has made much of a fuss about it during the election. Yes. Yeah, that I couldn't believe that. I don't know why Labour didn't go down this path. The Liberals are heading towards economic recession. I don't know why. Is it just because our politicians aren't smart enough anymore? They're focusing on this identity politics, class difference crap when we're on the verge of recession. Isn't that what politics used to be about? What's going on? What is going on? They've really lost their way. Inflation came in at 0 for the March quarter. Wage growth is anemic. Retail sales are poor. Car sales have plummeted. And last Friday, credit growth was weaker than even the pessimists were forecasting. That follows sluggish business investment data, along with a sharper than expected fall in building approvals. And despite all the recent hype, housing prices continue to slide. Yeah, I think they're going to keep going down. On Wednesday, we'll be presented with the March quarter GDP numbers. That's going to be interesting. This time last year, they were strong, but in the second half of last year, the economy suddenly weakened. There's every indication that trend continued in the first quarter of this year, with annual growth expected to come in at just 1.6%. So that's what they're predicting. That's UBS forecast. So that's just one part of the economy. There's one part of the economy doing well, and that's exports. More specifically, our iron ore exports have been forging ahead. Well, yes, they have. Haven't they? Haven't our iron ore exports been forging ahead? Or this is what we're doing to China. Let's have a look. At how much is our iron ore exports as part of the economy here. Yep, there you go, 20% of the economy, and that's $48.2 billion. $48.2 billion, so they're forging ahead. No thanks to all the politicians that are not happy with these type of things. So not only have we been shipping vast quantities to China, we've been raking in vast profits. Iron ore prices have soared as China has pumped in stimulus. At the same time, surpluses from Brazil have disrupted by catastrophic dam failures with tragic consequences. That export performance may lift real GDP and nominal GDP, which includes value. Unfortunately, given our mining industry is dominated by foreign owners, most of the cash ultimately flows out of the country. Well, there you go. That's something to think about. Everyone, that's something to think about. Are you a fan of that or not? Are you a fan of that or not? So what if the rates cuts don't work? Well, do you think they'll work? A 0.25% is pretty small. When the Reserve Bank cuts rates, it's more than just home owners in mind. The main aim is to force the Australian dollar lower. That helps boost our export income and makes our local industries more competitive. Well, the Australian dollar is going down. It is definitely going down. You know, I'll look at the AU dollar to US right now. So we're sitting at $1 or 69.4 cents US. So remember when it was $1, guys? Thumbs up if you remember when the US dollar was equal to $1 Australian dollar. I bought some offshore stuff, like a laser cutter from the US, and then got a refund when it was a lot cheaper, so I made a profit. So I actually made money off a Kickstarter. Yay! Unfortunately, according to investment bank UBS, a temporary iron ore export boom could prevent a dramatic fall in the currency, which means the RBA would be firing off one round of its precious ammunition for little or no impact. Yeah, there you go. And where's all the money from the boom going? You know, because of the foreign ownership of a lot of our mining organizations. That's why the Reserve Bank Governor, Philip Lowe, has called on federal and state governments to help stimulate the economy. Oh, yeah, okay, by reducing red tape. That'd be good. I would like that. You know what they're going to do? They're just going to shuffle around, make believe money that they tax out of us anyway. You know what they should do? They should increase payroll tax so the government could spend that to create more jobs. Yeah, that's a smart idea. These include further monetary easing, additional fiscal support, including spending on infrastructure, he told a group of economists in Brisbane a fortnight ago. Well, if that infrastructure would be maybe, I don't know, some large-scale dams in northern Queensland to kind of capture resources that can be used for multiple generations and maybe lead on to jobs, not just roads, which just move stuff around. You know? There are a few people talking about that. The population has doubled since the last time we built a dam. I mean, guys, come on. That's just crazy. That is just crazy. So, that's a big admission from a central banker that it no longer has enough conventional firepower and it's in need of all-style government spending. It's a realization that's dawned a little too late on many of the world's biggest monetary authorities. The problem is state governments, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, have coasted along the back of a property boom that now has turned to bust. The stamp duty rivers of gold are no longer flowing, meaning the federal government will most likely have to step up, and that will punch a massive hole in the budget. And I've looked at that in a recent video where the Melbourne housing crash has essentially reduced Victoria's budget because they're not making as much from their stamp duty. And if you've ever bought a property and had to pay stamp duty, you're literally paying for a stamp and you know the government paperwork, and you do most of the work. You know, you really do most of the work. So have a look at that if you want to see how much that's costing the Victorian government and what they're doing to address it there. What do you think? It's a Labor government. You know, let me know in the comments before you watch it if you haven't seen it what you reckon they're doing. I think everyone knows. Even so, should everything turn pear-shaped, the RBA is prepared to delve into the murky world of unconventional monetary warfare. Late last year, just as the first signs of our slowdown became apparent, RBA Deputy Governor Guy Devil let slip the bank could engage in quantitative easing, a form of monetary printing employed by the US, Japan, and Europe in the aftermath of the global financial crisis. Oh, crap. And you know what that does, guys? Yeah. You know what that does? It's going to make all your money worth even less. A weakening economy couldn't have come at a worse time. An increasingly aggressive America is upping the ante with a huge indebted and slowing China over trade, a major trading partner. Yes, we've looked at that. Global bonds with traders are pricing in a global recession. What a time to win an election. Well, yeah, that is a very good point. I don't think anyone wanted to win this election. So guys, what do you think? Are you confident where our economy is heading? Do you think bad times are ahead? Maybe I really should prepare that preppers video. I think I should prepare that preppers video. Anyway, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell to see my daily updates. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye for now.